Hey everybody, here we are on the floor of San Diego Comic-Con with Sherrilyn Kenyon. She is about to release her latest book at death's door in about 44 days, if I saw the countdown on the website right. I saw it last night. It was at 45. That makes it 44. Yeah. It's all become one giant day at this point. Her latest book at death's door, which is just another puzzle piece in her ever-increasing body of work. Sherrilyn, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm fine. I didn't trip over a pothole, so it's been really, really good.
So, the first thing I want to ask is, can you tell us a little bit about At Death's Door and how it fits into this greater body of work, this amazing storytelling tapestry that you're creating?
Oh, bless you. Where do I write the check out to? It wraps up the Dead Man's Cross. Oh my gosh, everything's got dead in the title. The Dead Man's Cross trilogy. So I hated to say goodbye. I was asking, at the end of it, because that's why we have the long Dark Hunter world and universe. I hate to ever leave characters behind. I'm like, can we do another book? No, you promised it's a trilogy. So it wraps up the trilogy. We say goodbye to some of the characters. Maybe they'll be, you know me, they're probably going to appear in later books, but I get to go a little deeper into the Caribbean lore. So we're looking at the Loas this time. I brought in Nebo, who has appeared in a couple of the first two books, and then this one focuses on Belinda, who we had a cliffhanger in the last book, so we start right where that one finished, so that fans don't come and haunt me and what happened? You left us. So yeah.
That definitely sounds like a fan reaction. Yeah, there's 5 minutes of missing space. What happened in the 5 minutes? So, you have this massive body of work with a lot of different kind of storylines and themes that all intertwine with each other. For somebody that's intimidated by the body of work, what's a really good jumping off point for them?
The one thing that I try to do with every book is, if you've missed an earlier book, you won't, any of them really, you can jump right in. Because you take something like Ashron. Ashron goes back, which is, book 8 or 9, or even Styx, which is, I think, book 20, 22, where they go back before the series even begins, and they cover, the big, huge expanse of the series. Or, in the League, I do it with, Born of Defiance goes back before the first book even begins in the series. So basically, you could pick up anywhere, or Dragon's Rising, where it's a trilogy within Dark Hunter, or The Dead Man's Cross. So we do have these little niches with the books, so you'll be safe anywhere. But if you're like my brother and you're completely OCD, I have to start with book 1, then on the website you can go and look. Night Pleasures is the first one for Dark Hunter. We have for League, it's Born of Night. For Chronicles of Nick, it's Infinity. So we do have book 1, but you'd be safe anywhere.
That's awesome. So I was on your website. I was looking at the information for At Death's Door, which I'm super excited to read. I haven't had a chance to do it because we get inundated with so much stuff before the convention. But I saw that you make playlists for each book. I assume maybe as you're writing it, or right before it releases. Tell us a little bit about how you create the playlists and where those come from.
Well, my older brother was a DJ, and I was a DJ for many years. So and I used to do a lot of my early work up in the music studios. So before I can even start a book, I have to have the playlist in my head. And I sit there, and as I'm writing, that is the playlist that I'm listening to. And when the fans found that out, they were like, well, we want to know what music you're listening to while you're writing the book. Okay, so I started putting it years and years ago on the web for them.
That's awesome. It's always neat to get that little bit of insight into the artist's creative process and where they're coming from when they write. And I don't know. I always love that. I'm always a big fan of playlists because I know when I spend time doing my stuff, I'm always jamming something, usually something horribly inappropriate.
But my kids are like, Mom, turn it down. This is backwards. My favorite was one time my son comes down. He's like, Mom, I'm hearing girls just want to have fun. And it's I looked at him and went, that's not my music. I listen to Godsmack and Five Finger Death Punch. I'm like, why are you coming to me? It's my ex-husband was playing. He's like, because he only listens to you. If I tell him to turn it down, he won't do anything. So you got to go yell at him. I'm like, okay.
So you have had a very eventful year. I don't want to obviously make you rehash any of that, but you posted a very long post about, why there was some delays in your books and things like that. Does that kind of stress and craziness just become fodder for the novels going forward?
No, I mean, life is life is stressful. As my mother said, life's not for the meek. No, no. I mean, really, as long as my kids are healthy, everything's good. So.
That's awesome. I was reading and I was like, wow, that almost seems like the plot of a crazy book.
Nobody would believe it. No, my whole life has been like that from day one. Everybody, I want to read your story. Why? You would never believe it. If I started at birth, my mother used to tell the story. I was born breech because I literally had my feet on each side of her cervix going, no, I'm not coming out. And I was 2 weeks late, which is why she cursed me with my name. My mother's like, that's 36 hours of labor. I got you back with a name they can't spell or pronounce. Yeah, thank you, Ma. Thank you.
I was cursed with that just because I'm Hispanic and Catholic. So,
Brother, I feel your pain. Yeah, no.
So with At Death's Door coming out and like the wrapping up of this series, like what are you most excited for people's reactions with this particular series and with this trilogy?
I hope they like it. At least it's not as thick as the book won't be as thick as ash. So if they throw it at me and because they hated it, it won't hurt. So
I don't think they're gonna hate it. You have a very the word I want to use is rabid, but that seems a little intense. But you,
no, please be right. I love you guys. Yes, no.
So your fan base is like very engaged. Like you have a lot of people that really truly love you and like love the work that you do. How does it feel when you release a book and get that enormous amount of positive feedback?
Oh, it's wonderful. I want them to always feel that way. I never want to lose a fan. So, yeah, it's great.
Do you ever feel like you get pigeonholed as you're writing to like serve the fans, or are you just like I do what I do?
Well, I'm pigeonholed to love the characters. I serve the characters. I am their slave. So really, I love the fans, but if I sat there and I worried about what the fans were thinking while I was writing, I'd never get a word written because you can't. Sadly, you can't please everybody. Everybody has their favorite book. And I love you guys. I hate that you can't love them all equally because I do. They're my children. I could never pick one. So I try to please every fan, but I hate it. Nothing hurts worse than it. Have a fan come up and go, that last book. No, please tell me you loved it. So yeah.
I think that's all creators. Like every episode of the show we make, when somebody says something negative, I'm like, but we're friends.
Right? It's like, oh my God, just here's the heart, stab me. Oh God. Oh.
So how will people be able to find your book and find you and also look forward, because you have even more projects in the works? Like how do people find you?
Well, you can always go to mysherrilyn.com. That's our website. I try to keep that thing up to date, but I'm, one person. I do need to sleep at least 2 to 3 hours a night. I know, yeah, the gremlins that write my book. But, the other place is Facebook. That's usually a little more current, but yeah.
That's awesome. And what other projects can we look forward to that are coming up on top of At Death's Door?
The next one is Queen of All Shadows, which is the next Dark Hunter book. I started Xander high school? I finally get to tell it. He was supposed to come out years ago as one of the first Dark Hunter books. And I was in the middle of polishing it off when suddenly, who was it, Ren, or one of the real early books, came up and said, no. And I had to, they had already done the publicity for it, and they had to stop it. My editor's not real happy with me, yeah. But luckily forgave me, so.
It's interesting. You hear authors talk about how like the story dictates itself to you almost, and I spent quite a while writing a couple novels that never went anywhere, but I wrote them and I'm really proud of that. And I never understood that statement until I started writing. And it's really interesting how an idea catches you and you're just like, I got to do this. I can't do something else. Like, are there moments of inspiration that you really remember that like stick out for you?
Oh yeah. I mean, in the League series, I was writing Born of Betrayal when all of a sudden Talene came in and he said, no, you got to tell mine first. And I realized that had I written Born of Betrayal, there'd have been so many spoilers for his book. So I literally had to stop halfway through, go back and write that one. So yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I was about to wrap up, and I was like, oh, I gotta know about that. Well, Sherrilyn, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I'm really enjoying your books. I'm very far behind because I'm doing this awesome thing. There's an app that comes out of my library called Hoopla that has a ton of your books as audiobooks, so I'm able to like listen to them at work, and it's been unbelievably pleasurable. Thank you so much, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's been great.